Reloading Bench back with you once again, and this afternoon we're going to talk about lock rings and wrenches. And if you've watched any of my recent video on the Dillon XL750 build, you'll know about my gripes when it comes to wrenches. So years and years ago, up until this month, I love Lee product, and I continue to buy Lee product. And the Lee lock rings, people love them, people hate them for a number of different reasons. And the biggest, I guess, complaint is this rubber O-ring, removable rubber O-ring, and the fact that there's no way to lock them. And if you read the Lee manuals and Lee diagrams and Lee dies, it talks about getting them finger tight. And if you tighten these finger tight, they shouldn't go anywhere, because once that rubber O-ring hits the pressure of the turret or whatever, the setting of the die, you're good to go. So when I bought my Hornady, I naturally went in and got all the accessories. And the only value of this wrench, in my opinion, is this particular loop. And that's the loop that you set in the plate when you crank down the hex for the shell plate. So that gives you leverage to lock the plate in as you're turning the hex. That's about it, because won't fit anything, and obviously it'll fit a Hornady lock ring, but it won't fit anything else. And that's the downside, because when you buy a set of dies, or whatever dies you do buy, they usually come with their own lock ring, and there's where you get the assortment of rainbow lock rings, styles, finishes, colors, you name it. So I gave up on the wrenches, and I standardized on a 1 1/8 inch open-ended wrench, because you can't always get this entire thing across your die, and then there's no room to turn it. Whereas with an open-ended wrench, I have found that works great. So wherever your die is, especially with the Lee dies, you're good to go. So again, Lee fan. So nice on the 1/8 inch wrench. So over the years, I've collected a number of different types of, and these are the lock rings that came with the Dillon, which in my opinion are the least robust I've ever seen. When you look at the different types over the years, I think this is RCBS. I can't remember some of these, but I've been collecting them for years. And what I liked about the different types of lock rings are the ability to lock the lock ring. So again, like the finger tight with the Lee, most dies don't have finger tight rubber O-rings on the bottom to seal that in, and a lot of them have gone to some type of hex screw to tighten and lock against the die itself. But that, to me, that ruins the die body, because you're actually screwing into the threads of the body to lock it in. So this design, albeit maybe an improvement over something like this with the Dillon, and I can understand why Dillon went so thin, is to keep, there's not a whole lot of space in there on that tool head to have big dies. So you won't be able to put, when you look at the difference in die sizes, you won't be able to put big dies on the Dillon tool head. So I think the improvement over time was when they went to a split, they being whomever made this, went to a split design. I love the hex tool to then tighten that down. So you can finger tight, and then you can tighten with the hex to get that really, really tight. And I want to say that, I don't remember if that'll fit the Hornady. No. Picky tool. So I thought that was a great improvement over time for dies. And again, this is the RCBS, and that's most of the dies I went with on this Dillon 750 build. And I decided, I don't even remember who made this one, but again, the machining is beautiful with the knurling and the finish and the hex tool, hex screw to tighten that down. So this would be a favorite if I had the space. And again, when you look at how tight things get, this would be great for maybe like a single stage press, but you know, putting 4 dies in with this size lock ring is just not going to work. So for all my Lee stuff, I stick with the Lee dies, or excuse me, the Lee lock rings. And what came out recently, late last year when I was looking at, I like to look at all the vendors' new products for the upcoming year. Lee kind of put together the best of all of this. And by that I mean very lightweight and small. So you've got, you know, the size, the original size of Lee, which is slightly bigger than Dillon, with Dillon probably being the smallest. Maybe the same footprint as RCBS. Definitely smaller than whomever this is. Can't remember who that is. But what I liked about the Lee was a couple things. One, you've still got your finger tight O-ring, so you can tighten that down. You also have the split design with the screw to tighten this. Now, I don't like the fact that it's a Phillips head screwdriver as opposed to, I think a hex is a much better design. It's so easy to strip a Phillips head, and a Phillips head is pretty big to get in that small space. So a hex screw head would have been better in my opinion, but still, I think this is excellent, especially for the cost. I think these are a couple dollars a piece. I think you get the 3 rings and the wrench for, I want to say $9.99, so $10. And I think this is $2 by itself. So, you know, 3 rings for $8, depending where you get it. So give or take. But what I liked was, and this is a double-edged sword, like and dislike, the fact that you can buy these rings, these lock rings, and you get your little wrench. And the wrench just locks onto the teeth. As such. And then you just twist. So, again, back to the whole thumb tightening. You know, you're just twisting, moving, twisting, moving, twisting until you get this the tightness that you want. I like the fact that it came with the wrench as opposed to having to spend $20 or more to buy a wrench or, you know, yet another wrench. So I decided to go with the Lee lock ring solution. I can't remember what these are actually called. Ultimate lock ring, something to that effect. Because I believe Lee does also make a version that is not split with the screw. It's just the wrench and finger tight, which is also pretty cool too. Same effect of what I've got here. But I like these, and I put them on the Dillon. So I will show you here in a second the uniformity I got with the Dillon. The Lee Ultimate Lock Rings, I think they're called, look like on the Dillon head and the Dillon tool head, and I love the way they turned out. It's got a great fit. The finish is awesome. It's you know, can't say enough about it. Locked down. These aren't going anywhere, but if I do need to remove the dies, very easily removable, and the lock rings don't move, so you get them back in the exact same spot. So kudos to Lee. Winner product. Love the way it came out.